Welcome to the CTCL Virtual College Days. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to sign up for additional sessions. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at that same website where you registered. Now I'd like to turn it over to our presenters.
Thank you, Anna. Well, everyone, I'm very glad that you guys are joining us today. My name is Caleb Fowler. I am Assistant Director of Mission at Rhodes College up here in Memphis, Tennessee. With me, I have Jake Ahern, a current senior, so he'll be able to provide a bit more of current stories for you rather than my alumni stories. So, Jake, will you please introduce yourself and tell us more about what you've been involved in at your time at Rhodes?
Absolutely. Thanks, Caleb. How are y'all doing? My name is Jake. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina originally. I'm a senior at Rhodes College, International Studies major, Spanish minor. I help out in admissions as a senior fellow, also as a diplomat. So I give tours and information sessions like these to prospective students that visit the campus. I'm also a peer assistant leader, so I help first years in their transition from high school to Rhodes. So for any of y'all, if you came, that would be, I would serve kind of as an upperclassman leader during your welcome week period, and also a teaching assistant during our Monday afternoon seminars. Past that, I'm also involved in fraternity life, and I've studied abroad. I went to Ecuador after my freshman year.
Thank you, Jake. Again, as Anna said earlier, if you have questions, please use the Q&A box below. My colleague, Lauren Sefton, will also be answering those questions live as we go along, and I'll try to address some of those at the end myself. But I want to give you guys some facts, figures, and some knowledge about Rhodes, as Jake and I are both very excited to share with you guys more about this college and the city that we care so much for. So with that, I'm going to bring up PowerPoint briefly so we can be able to go along here. So Jake, will you nod if you can see my PowerPoint right now? Thank you. Well, guys, at Rhodes, we do want to give you a leg up in the world, really Rhodes edge, as you see here. What that means is we want to make you ready for the world around you. That entails being intellectually ready. We want to make sure that you guys are ready to step into the challenges that are going to be before you, as well as the victories. None of us anticipated being involved in a global pandemic this year. That was a new thing that intellectually all of us had to prepare for. So whatever the next challenges ahead are going to be, we want to make sure that you guys are ready to tackle those, as well as be leadership ready. We know that students are often coming in with roles in mind of things that they are eager to do, leadership being one of those. We want to make sure that through your activities, through things you're doing at Rhodes in college, are going to prepare you for whatever role you take. That does not mean that you will be a leader in every realm, but we want to make sure that you are a good follower as well as a good leader, because it takes both to make sure we are able to move along. We also make sure that your career in grad school ready. We know that all of you have ideas for things you want to do after college. Some of you might not know what they are yet, and please don't be freaked out. You do not need to know what you're going to do yet. In fact, I think that question might throw you off track as you're going through your college search. So we'll talk a bit more about how you guys can prepare yourselves for whatever is ahead of you after college. But again, we want to make sure you are intellectually ready, leadership ready, and career and grad school ready. So that's really the core tenets of what we try to produce at Rhodes. To give you an interesting look into our student body, our students are coming from all across the world. We have around 2,000 students or so from about 46 states and 50 odd countries. Jake, as he mentioned before, is from North Carolina. We have several students from the Carolinas with us. We are national in scope. So as you see here, while we do have a lot of Tennesseans and Texans, you are not going to find yourself solely surrounded by those people. You're going to have yourself with friends from all different parts of the country. Jake, can you name a few places your friends have come from to come to Rhodes?
Sure, just my roommates, St. Louis, Missouri, Hartford, Connecticut, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Lexington, Kentucky, and then Asheville, North Carolina.
It's a good spread. As you can see, students are coming from all over the place. We do think that actually brings to bear great conversations, not just in the classroom, but also in the dorms, in the dining hall. Your education is not just constricted to being in the classroom, but it is a broad experience. It is really an understanding of the world. Education and schooling are often held to be synonymous terms, but at Rhodes, we understand that your education is actually promoted outside of the classroom as well. So we want to make sure students are involved in that community. We are also enjoying one of the most beautiful campuses in the country, as we've been named not too long ago. You can see that there are some pretty nice spots on campus. No, this photo is not color construed or edited in that regard. this is just an example of some of the sunsets we've been fortunate to see from campus, and a place that I'm very excited to come back to when we are in full session again. But as you can see here, we have several traditions on campus that are very valuable to us. In fact, here is an example of first-year students being reminded on their very first day of class to walk around the seal. You do not want to step on the seal. But what the seal represents really is our honor code. It is a pledge for students not to lie, cheat, or steal, and to report if they're seeing instances of that occurring. And what it produces at Rhodes is a culture of trust and mutual understanding, where students are taking care of each other, where they can feel like they can leave their backpack in the floor of the cafeteria or their laptop on their desk for hours at a time. They do that, and they have to remember when they go to Starbucks back in their hometowns, it's not a similar honor code. But on campus, our students understand that they are looking out for each other so that they can keep their priorities in line. They don't have to worry about those things. But on campus, they are able to participate in a healthy residential experience as well. Academically, our students are involved in discussion-based classrooms. Our average class size is actually 14 students, and student faculty ratio is 10 to 1. So our students are getting really an intimate look into how their professor is able to engage with them in class. You are not just restricted to lectures, you are instead part of the conversation. Jake, can you share how some of your experiences in the classroom have shaped you, maybe with smaller class sizes, and how that even brought you to where you are now?
Yeah, for sure. The smallest class that I actually ever had, I took last semester. It was a 6-person class, a little bit kind of higher level international studies class. But regardless of which major or minor you get into, as you reach the higher level, the class sizes will go down a little bit. But it just meant that every class, we just got to sit down with the professor and really talk about what we had read. It wasn't something where he just lectured at the 6 of us for an hour. We really just got to share our perspectives, share our opinions, got to know the other people in the class really well, in addition to the professor. I think that's one of the advantages of not just that class, but all the classes I've had at Rhodes, is that I come out after the semester really having a better understanding of the people that were in the class, what they like to do, not only in the classroom, but then also outside of it. Then those professors really stick with you as kind of advisors for you, regardless if they actually are. They're people that are going to stay with you throughout your 4 years, and then hopefully after as well.
Thanks, Jake. I was talking with a student today, and she's a philosophy major, and asked her, who's your advisor? She gave me a name. I was like, I love that professor. That's someone who even I, during my time at Rhodes, got to know very well. So you can find that these conversations you have with your professors, with your classmates, they are not just limited to the classroom, but they extend beyond that, even years after you graduate, as I've been able to learn in my own experience too. We are going to make use of outdoor spaces when we're back on campus, and I think that is really a nice thing about our college as well, is that you're enjoying a wonderful 4 years on a beautiful campus like this. And especially as the weather is starting to change here in Memphis, we are enjoying wonderful fall weather in a place where students are able to enjoy the campus year round. Our majors and minors, a hint for you is that you don't have to declare your major until sophomore spring. So you actually have 4 semesters worth, about 16 courses to discover, to figure out what you might major in. And these are just some of the examples of 50 different majors and minors we have. If you will note, you might see some that are different combinations of things like history and international studies. In fact, that was my major. Jake and I have a similar interest in international studies. That's his major too. But you find that many students before you, and yourself might find this to be the case for you, is that you will see that you don't just have one interest in one particular field, but are able to combine different things. So whether you decide to double major or do a bridge major, as we call it, where you combine different fields, you're able to take your interests and pursue those within your academic context as well. You're not just restricted to your major, but you have an advisor from day 0 to help you along with this, to help pick classes that are going to be helpful for you, helping to decide on what your major will be. So if you're stepping into college undecided, you're fine. You have plenty of time to figure out what you might be pursuing. But if you come into Rhodes saying, I'm going to be an art major, you are welcome to do that, or a biology major. And you're going to have people along the way who are going to help you out to pursue that path. How we do that at Rhodes is through the foundations curriculum, which is about 12 skills that we need to accomplish by the time you graduate. As you see here, none of these are so cut and dry as to say, learn calculus or learn World War II history. Instead, they are phrased very broadly on purpose so that you have the chance to actually pick topics that are more appealing to you, potentially within fields that you didn't understand that well before. I know when I walked into Rhodes, I was very much eager to learn this component, understand how historical forces have shaped human cultures. But over here in this light blue shade of exploring and understanding scientific approaches to the natural world, that was not in my wheelhouse. That was not something I was inclined to pursue. But I would take a course, Chemistry of Nutrition, that helped me understand how chemistry applied more to my life than I thought in 10th grade chemistry. But Jake, can you share your experience of how the foundation curriculum helped you discover something new about your own journey through school?
Yes. So similar to kind of how science was for you, is how the one right next to it at the bottom, participate in the analysis of artistic expression. That was a little bit daunting to me. Typically that's satisfied through sculpting, painting, drawing, any of kind of the intro art classes at Rhodes. But I can't do any of those well. So that was something that I kind of feared, okay, maybe I'll take a hit to my GPA or be in a class I don't want to be in. But like Caleb mentioned, there are plenty of ways to stay engaged. So Rhodes actually offers the ability to take 4 semesters of learning an instrument to satisfy that foundation requirement. So I got to learn how to play the piano, got to do something that I had never done before in my life, which was touch an instrument, worked with the professor one-on-one just one time a week, and then came out of that with, the musical skills that now I can kind of carry on with me for the rest of my life. And all that was just out of a fear for taking a regular art class. So whatever it is, wherever your passions lie, whether your strengths or weaknesses are, you'll be able to fit that all into the foundation's curriculum.
You might be able to overcome your fears, as Jake did through the foundation curriculum, which is maybe not something that the writers had in mind, but something I think they'd be proud to know still happens. Leadership ready, again, another big core component of the Rhodes Edge. We want you guys to be ready to step into whatever roles you may have. That starts with just the activities you're able to do at Rhodes. We really value experiential learning opportunities as well. That would include internships, as you see here. 4 to 5 students do internships before they graduate. That's because Rhodes is one of the few major liberal arts colleges in a major city. Memphis, Tennessee, about 28th largest city in the country. You have chances to intern with groups like these, AutoZone, FedEx, names you probably recognize, other Fortune 500 companies like International Paper. You're able to do projects with them even as a 4th class. So if you might decide in your junior, senior year, hey, I'm not so excited to be in the classroom, I might be feeling a bit tired. That's okay. That happens at college, wherever you go. But we want to help you understand how you can still apply what you've been learning in the classroom into a real world context. So that could be as taking an internship at FedEx, and that would actually be your 4th course. You'd still be getting a full credit load for that semester, which is an exciting thing to see. We'll help students find internships through career services. That's a huge avenue for students to find those opportunities. So you don't have to feel like you have to find them yourselves, but you'll have people who are going to assist you in that process. That can be for a semester in Memphis. You don't have to wait to go back home to Charlotte, as Jake didn't have to do, or back to Austin, where I grew up. You can find that you're doing an internship during the school year. It could be back home during the summer as well, or it could be abroad. Jake, in fact, earned a scholarship to be able to do an internship abroad, and we're going to make sure he does that before he is through with his academic career. But that's also something I was fortunate to be able to do as well, being able to do an internship in Dublin, Ireland. So you're able to find different opportunities to do internships, whether that's in Memphis, back home, or abroad. Research is also very big for students on campus. I think that's often forgotten, is that the liberal arts is not just humanities or the arts. It's liberal arts and sciences, but research also encapsulates all of those. Research is not just for the natural sciences, and forgive me for my photos are natural science leaning, but you can still do that in any subject because every single faculty member on campus is required to do research, because we want them to have the chance to bring in undergrads into that process so that you leave college with that understanding of how research works, how we are learning things in the world. You're not competing with grad students for those opportunities. You just have to go to your professor and knock on the door and say, hey, can we be part of this team? You have the chances to do that. Students also go across the world to present their research. I've had friends present their research in Australia or in Spain, but you're able to do research in any field, whether that's philosophy, biology, chemistry, history, international studies. You have a lot of chances for that to happen. Additionally, something that we find to be incredibly valuable is that we have a lot of students who are interested in the natural sciences and the health professions in particular. And so St. Jude, if you know the name St. Jude, I think most of us have heard of that before, that is 3.5 miles from campus. It is literally down the street. Down the street. You take a right out of campus, head down the way. If you miss it, you just run into the Mississippi River, but you're not going to miss it because it's a gorgeous campus. But what's nice about it too is that we are actually the only undergraduate institution in the country to have a formal research partnership with them. So you can get an exclusive look into what those labs look like, where students are able to do the St. Jude Summer Plus program, as we see here. where students are able to do research for 15, 18 months at a time within the halls of St. Jude, which is an incredible experience and definitely prepares our students for their future careers, or for med school, for vet school, for nursing school, you name it. Their students are prepared for that, which is an exciting thing. But Jake, will you share a bit about maybe how you or your friends have interacted with internships or research before we hop into the study abroad portion?
Yeah, I always kind of like to share my experience that I consider research, just because it's not one that kind of, I think that a lot of people would typically associate with it. But if you are someone interested in something outside of the hard sciences, research really comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. So for 2 weeks after my sophomore year, I went with my major advisor and then a couple other students to Washington, D.C. To meet with some alumni, to meet with some HR departments of other think tanks, corporations, and nonprofits, to really understand how to make a successful transition from Rhodes and Memphis to the job market in DC, and then also kind of expand my connections and my network by really engaging with alumni, which I don't think typically would be equatable to working in a lab for a summer. But for me was the research that I needed on, not what I'm doing in the classroom right now, but what I will be doing as soon as I graduate. So however you see it, research is available, research is plentiful. And like Caleb mentioned, a lot of times all it takes is just going to your professor or your advisor to find those opportunities.
Thank you, Jake. Study abroad is also an experience that students fall in love with. And I know Jake can share a bit more about his time in Ecuador, but as you see, about 75% of students study abroad or study away. That is all across the world. We have about 350 different connections all across the globe, with about 300 of them actually allowing your financial aid and scholarships to roll over with you. So it's the same price as going to Rhodes, which is a wonderful financial chance, and where you're not bound financially to not be able to do that, which is very nice. That can be for a full year. It could be for a semester. It could be for a Maymester. But Jake, can you share with us a bit more about what the Maymester options look like in particular and how students get plugged into those?
Yes, so the Maymesters are typically 2 to 4 week programs available after the spring semester gets out. So a really good opportunity for students maybe with busy coursework during the semesters, or then also varsity athletes. Sometimes, it might be tough to get away in season or even out of season. I was neither. I just, for some students, we just don't want to miss a semester at Rhodes. So I took that opportunity to go down to Ecuador. In the morning, I took classes in grammar and culture. But that cultural class wasn't sitting in a classroom learning about Ecuador. We actually got to go out to marketplaces, cafes, bakeries, and just sit down and talk about how that place was relevant to the overall Ecuadorian experience. In the afternoons, we got to do a lot of excursions with the entire group, oftentimes to historical landmarks or museums. And then the weekends, you get to do a little bit cooler stuff, going ziplining in the rainforest, going hiking, getting to walk through waterfalls. We got to go to a spa one weekend. So just doing a lot of stuff that you can't quite do on a weekly basis, at least, in a lot of places in the United States. But other, Maymester programs include the Belgian Maymester. I think there's a Maymester in South Africa. I don't know all of them. Caleb probably knows a lot more than me, but there are plenty of opportunities besides just the Ecuador Maymester.
Jake wasn't ready for my quiz, but it's just incredible to hear that the stories that he's able to retell, the things that he was able to do, from zip lining to staying with his family, that was part of his study. That was homework. That was part of fun, but also his education. You're not just stuck within the confines of one room. You're able to enjoy that experience. So I'm glad to hear that Jake got that experience earlier on, and we're eager to see where you guys end up as well, of course, once we're past COVID and this crisis. But we are very excited to send students back into the world once we are all back to that place. Students are also participating in so many different clubs on campus. We have 100 different clubs and organizations on campus. That gives you so many chances to find clubs that maybe you've done before in high school or have never heard of. My encouragement to you would be to do a club that you have heard of before and maybe have done and feel comfortable with, but also one outside of that you hadn't seen the experience. Jake was able to learn a new instrument. That's something that's really exciting for him and for other students as well. So find something that is exciting for you to be able to participate in, even as you might not have tried it before. This is actually a picture of the SAC fair, which is our student activities fair at the beginning of each semester. So that's how you actually find these clubs. We don't expect you to walk into college and just know the 100 different clubs. As Jake didn't happen to know all of the Maymester options, that's okay. We want you to figure that out. So SAC fair is a good way for you to sign up for a dozen or so and be able to find the ones that are exciting for you. There is not a single Rhodes student who is not invested in something outside of class, which I think is really nice to see how involved our students are in their community. Speaking of community involvement, about 80% of our students are involved in service. That has actually gotten us named one of the most service-minded schools in the country, which is incredible because we don't have a service requirement. Our students are just doing that because they care so much about the people around them, about this city as well. Our students are going out into the city of Memphis and pursuing those opportunities because they care about this place. This is just the type of student who's drawn to a school like Rhodes. So we are excited to send students out into the city and other parts of the country as well whenever they are excited about that. But that can be from reading to school children right down the street at Snowden Elementary. That could be mentoring other children. It could be working at an urban farm, actually, just a few miles away. So there are a lot of ways for you to involve service in your experience at Rhodes in Memphis. Our students are enjoying their time on campus, but they are also maybe going to see their friends participate in sports if they're not doing that themselves. We are an NCAA Division III institution. We're in the Southern Athletic Association. We're very competitive within that conference as well. We have 23 Division III teams, as you see here. What's really nice about this aspect, though, is that our students are not just athletes, or not just student athletes. They are involved in a plethora of activities. As you probably heard Jake mention earlier, he listed a lot of things he's involved in. He's not a varsity athlete, but just like varsity athletes, he's involved in many different things. So if you are a football player or a baseball player or a lacrosse player, you are not just restricted to lacrosse in class or golf in class. You can do so many things beyond that. And what's nice as well about Rhodes is that if you're on the team or not, you will know people on the team. That is exciting. You're able to go to those games and recognize the football captain. He was maybe in your class, or you will know the leading scorer on the lacrosse team and be able to go support her because she was your lab partner. These are people you know and part of this community. If you're an athlete and want to walk around campus and feel holy and very well esteemed, maybe this is not the place, but it is a very wonderful place if you want to feel like you are part of a community that values you, not just for your athletic contribution, but also just for you being there, which is an encouraging thing, I think, for many athletes, but also exciting for non-athletes to be able to participate in that. What's cool too is close to 30% of our students are involved in varsity athletics. That's a good portion, but also close to 60% of our students are involved in varsity club or intramural. I know Jake has been very active within the intramural soccer leagues as well. That's a fun thing for him and for students to be able to participate in that. There are a lot of ways for you to be active on campus and to find people around you who also want to stay active. So pursue those things as well. We are a residential campus. That's something that we really value. We are excited to say that we have students live on campus nearly all 4 years. We actually have a 3-year residential requirement so that you're living on campus for your first 3 years. And if you choose to live off campus your senior year, you may, but most students decide to live on campus all 4 years. That was my case. What's nice about that is that you are around people your age and your best friends within just a few minutes walk from everyone. That's not something you can easily replicate after college. Something that I talked to Jake about and other seniors is that changes once you graduate. But this is a chance for you to be around people your age and to enjoy the easy access of friends around you, which is, I think, an exciting thing to enjoy at a residential college. You also, spoiler, will not have stained glass windows in your apartment buildings after college. Something I had to grow used to was that I just got kind of accepted to that in college. At Rhodes, you have stained glass windows in your dorms. That's different, but it's nice that students are enjoying that experience, and especially the community aspect that's formed through the residential experience. There's an example of them making use of our common spaces. You can actually enjoy those regardless of whether you are in that dorm or not. So you can make use of the kitchen, which you can barely see here on this edge of the picture, but you're able to enjoy those spaces regardless of whether you live in that dorm or not. But my last big point would be how we prepare students to be career and grad school ready. Again, you might not know right now what you want to be doing in 5 or 6 years, or much less 50 years. That's okay. And I do want to help you with this too and say that you don't need to be asking yourself the question so much of what am I going to do? But instead ask yourself, what kind of experiences do I want to shape me? What type of person do I want to be at the age of 23, 24? This is going to require some work, some reflection. It's not so easy to think of these things, but it does require you to ask them, because this can often help you find a place that will lead you there, even if you don't know right now what your major is going to be or what club you're going to give most of your time to. You are going to figure that out, but instead be asking what experiences can shape me into that person I'll be proud of in 5, 6 years. That's an exciting thing. So it is not just about preparing you for the job, it is about preparing you for life as well. So to speak on a bit more, the city of Memphis crafts students into people they're proud to be. Our city is one that our students are falling in love with every day. It's one that I know as I talk to students as we are remote this fall, they are missing more and more all the time because they find that this is their home. Rhodes is in MIDTOWN Memphis, so it is an area of town that is very exciting for students to experience because it has entertainment options, but also wonderful restaurants. It has playhouses for theater performances. It has live concert venues. I'm from Austin, so switching to a music city like Memphis was not that hard. But students are also able to enjoy a lot of things right around this area. But they're also only 10 minutes from downtown. We have the Rookie of the Year in the NBA, Ja Morant. I know that's something that Jake and I are very excited about. But what's nice too is that even if you're not a sports fan, you're able to enjoy the city because you're in it. You're not going into town. You're already there living in it. So you're 10 minutes from downtown, you're 8 minutes from St. Jude, you are 15 minutes from Costco, if that makes you feel at home. But you're able to enjoy these things. Right, Target, Costco's a little further. But it's nice to see that students are making use of this city. They are not just staying on campus. They do oftentimes, they often find themselves on campus throughout the weekend because they find fun things to do, but they are also going into the city and enjoying that because they live in it every day. But Jake, can you share with us some of your favorite things that you've been enjoying through downtown or midtown during your time at Rhodes?
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to what Caleb mentioned, obviously I'd love to go to Beale Street, love to go to sports games, love everything downtown. Something a little bit closer that's really cool is Crosstown Concourse, which is about a 5-minute walk from where I'm living right now in Memphis. So a great spot for me and my roommates if we want to grab some food. Basically what it is it's an old Sears factory that's been renovated to include apartments, restaurants, bars, gym, movie theater, what am I forgetting? Nurse's office, a little grocery store. So people can just straight up live out of this building. But as a college student, it's nice to, if I want to get food off campus, if I want to study in a different spot, maybe one day, a couple of my roommates actually work out inside of Crosstown. So like Caleb alluded to, the access that you have to the city, I think is really unparalleled in a lot of cities kind of across the US, because there is kind of distinct difference between where you're at and then downtown. For us, we're basically there all the time. So whatever you want to do outside of the gates of Rhodes is entirely accessible whenever you want to do it. And the great thing is they have everything for you regardless of what your interests are.
I think Jake brings a good point that it is accessible. You have access to this even as a young person, as a student. You are not restricted from enjoying nice things because you're not stuck in traffic in Memphis. You are also valued even as a Rhodes student in Memphis because the city understands how Rhodes students are well prepared to succeed around them. So our students are often at the top of the list for internship opportunities or for meetings with people in the city who are able to make good change here. It is not hard to reach out to a community member in the city and get a response because they recognize your Rhodes email address. They know who you are, they get to know you, and they are welcoming you into that. I think welcoming is another word I really like to talk about for Memphis because it is beyond just friendly. There are so many friendly places out there. Texas is friendly, where I'm from, but there are very few welcoming places that truly ask you to be a part of that, even if you're not from there. Memphis is one of those. It is a place where even if you come from Charlotte or from New York, Miami, or Austin, you are asked to be a part of this community if you are excited about it. So our students are able to participate in that. It's also affordable, which is nice too, especially for college students. It's a hint that your wallets are going to be a lot slimmer in college than you think they're going to be. So you're able to enjoy going to free concerts like here at the Levitt Shell, which is actually where Elvis played his very first paid show, and that's right across the street from Rhodes. You're able to enjoy going to Beale Street. This is a pre-COVID picture, so sorry about that. But it's exciting to see students enjoying the city around them without feeling like they have to break the bank to enjoy a nice meal. They're going to Grizzlies games like you see here for $5. Whether you maybe walked in as a Hornets fan like Jake or something else, you find that you can fall in love with the city very quickly because it cares for the people around it. Of course, we're always working on things like any city, but our students are proud to be here and proud to be part of that. And one thing that I think really represents that is only about 10 to 12% of our students are from Memphis, but close to 40% stay in Memphis after they graduate. which is super exciting. I am in that cohort where you see the students fall in love because they put their roots down in this city and find out that they are welcomed into it. They are part of this place, even as a college student. So why not stay here? So that's an exciting thing to see the students participate in that, and it does make them ready for the world around them. To continue on here, give you some more facts and stuff. We have been named under Princeton Review here as even the top 10 for medical school acceptances. Our students are very well prepared, especially for pursuits in the natural sciences or the health professions, which is something we talked about a bit earlier. Our students are ready for competitive postgraduate scholarships. As you can see here, we produce a lot of Fulbrights. In fact, we have been named one of the top Fulbright producing schools in the country. I have a lot of my friends who've gone on to do that. Jake, I'm sure you know several other people who have gone on to win some of these prestigious scholarships. So your academic pursuits, your learning, your gaining of knowledge and wisdom, that does not stop when you graduate from Rhodes, when you walk across the field for the very first time. Students are also very much helped to pursue grad school if they decide to pursue that. But what is nice is that Rhodes helps them there. I've seen a lot of my friends go into grad school or to med school and say, wow, I was so much more prepared than I even thought I was, because Rhodes does train you to be thinking in a broader way. You, of course, know your subject very well, whether it's international studies or biology or chemistry, but you are also well versed in how to connect things that weren't previously put together. But when students leave, they are excited to step across the field for the very first time, as you see former student Mary do right here, but they are also eager to go out into the world and succeed. So as you can see, about 96% of our students within a year of graduating actually are either employed, volunteering full-time, or they are in grad school. So a lot of our students are going off into the world and are ready to succeed in whatever path they decide to take. But final thing here, kind of wrapping this all up, do you want to talk about how you even get into Rhodes? What does the application process look like? I think that's probably been something you guys have been waiting on. So sorry for taking so long. Here we are. But how we read applications is through the holistic process. You're going to hear that word from many different schools across the country. So I'll explain what it looks like at Rhodes. But with Rhodes, when you apply, you use the common application. We have that one application. We don't use other ones. What's nice about Rhodes too, and different from other schools who use a common app in many cases, we do not have an application fee or a supplemental essay question, which has changed since I applied. So you're welcome. That is a very nice thing, and I hope you appreciate that. So what's nice too is that when you apply, we're not just looking at certain facts and figures and saying that's all there is to this person, but instead we're looking at whatever you submit. So when you apply, you will be submitting your common application. We'll be looking at some of these main things. We'll be looking at your academic profile to see what kind of student you are, how you fit within the context of your school. We know that Jake's school is very different from my school, from your school. They are all very different and they do their own things. They have different grading scales. So my job, my role as an admission counselor is to get to know those schools in my territory. So I want to do that. We also look to see how you're engaging with rigor, the difficult courses that are offered at your school. We can tell if you have been just trying to preserve a good GPA without taking the tough courses. So we look in to see how you are challenging yourself and preparing. You don't have to try to overload yourself just to look good. We want to make sure you're also ready to be challenged and to succeed a bit. But you are also being looked at to see kind of how you are engaging within your academic context. We also look at your writing quality. That's an important part here. You're going to write a lot. Jake, please nod your head if you write a lot at Rhodes, or say something maybe about how your preparation helped you out with your writing even now within international studies. That is a question, though. I didn't have an ending to that one.
No, all good. Yeah, in every class, well, I guess maybe almost every class I've taken, whether it's by definition a writing intensive class or not, writing does accompany pretty much everything you're doing, which I think is good because that means a lot of times you're not just memorizing stats and figures to write it on a test. A lot of times you get to share your perspective, thoughts, opinions, and more essay style. Even if those are tests, you're actually getting to write on the test, or then a lot of times just turning in essays to your professors. So while it is maybe at times a lot of writing, I think it's a really good strategy to actually learn and interact with the material, not just kind of how it was in high school where you just memorize it and then put it all on a test.
Thanks, Jake. Your writing quality is something we want to look at. we do expect it to be written by a 17 or 18-year-old. And we know that that looks different than it will in 4 years or from a 40-year-old. So give us what you have and something that you are eager to write about, something that you say, this represents me well. This is really your only spot in the application where you get to tell us who you are in your own words, which I think can make it the most fun part of the application. I know probably some of you are rolling your eyes right now, but that is an encouraging thing, is that we do want to see what you have to tell us. Don't be trying to guess on what you think we want to read. If you're excited to write it, we'll be more eager to read it. So there's a good rule of thumb for you. In addition to academic profile and writing quality, we also look at your activities and things you do for fun. Jake listed all the things he does for fun at college. We want to see how you are engaging with your community too. And you don't have to do those same things in college when you get to Rhodes. You don't have to keep playing basketball or stay in the chess club or band, whatever. But you can put that on your application because we want to see how you're engaging with your community. So that could be sports. It could be language clubs. It could be service or taking care of family members, music, what have you. There are so many different things that you guys do for fun or do regularly. Put that down. We want to see what you're doing outside of your time as well. And we know that those things have changed too with COVID. So don't be afraid of that as well. We are understanding of that. We also look at letters of recommendation. We need one from your counselor and one from a core teacher. So if you haven't already asked those people to write those seniors, please ask them today, because you want to make sure that they are prepared to write you a good letter of recommendation. So give them more time for that. But if there are juniors in the audience, be thinking about that this year as you're going through your junior year, and maybe ask them in April or May, so you have more time on that. And then if you choose to submit it, we are actually test optional this year. So we are doing that for the next 3 years. So even if there are some sophomores listening right now, you will also be counted. So until the class, through the class of 2023, we will be test optional at least through that point. So if you choose to submit your test and you think it supports the rest of the application, you're welcome to do so. If you do not choose to submit your test, whether it's because you have never been able to test before or because you don't think that your score reflects where you are now academically, do not worry about it. Instead, we'll be prioritizing other parts of your application. So you will not be penalized for not submitting your test score. So I want to clarify that for you. But those are the things we're looking at with an application. We look at all those things for general admission, but also for general merit-based scholarships, which is nice. We assume if Jake applies to Rhodes, he also wants to be considered for general merit-based scholarships. So we're going to do that for him. Again, you're welcome. So with that, we're looking at all the same things. If you want to be considered for need-based aid, which I recommend every single family do, fill out the FAFSA and the CSS profile. They open tomorrow. So you're welcome to start applying for those tomorrow and submit those with your application. But additionally, when it comes to how to apply, the deadline would be helpful for you to pick. As you can see on the right of your screen here, these are deadlines that we have. There are really 3 different deadlines, even though they're 4 dates. Early decision, early action, and then regular decision. Early decision is great for students to say, I want to be at Rhodes as my top choice. But with that too, within 2 weeks of you completing your application, you'll hear back from us. So if you are excited to be at Rhodes for whatever reason, that could be a really good one for you. You'd hear back. If you apply tomorrow, you hear back in 2 weeks and you're done in October. That's a really nice thing. But in addition to that, if you choose to apply with that, it is saying that you commit to enroll at Rhodes, with the one caveat being if it's financially infeasible for you to attend Rhodes, we're not going to force you to pay for college. You can be released from that. So it's not a binding contract. Do not be intimidated by that. But if you feel like there's a good social fit, an academic fit for you, you know you want to be here, that could be a good deadline for you. And you can talk more with your mission counselor at Rhodes about that if you think that that's something you might be interested in. Early action is good for students who say, I'm thinking of several different schools that maybe don't have a top choice yet, but that's a really good one there because it's non-binding, non-rolling. You hear back in mid-January, so 2 months later. Regular decision is the last deadline we have. It's due mid-January, you see here, and it's returned back in mid-March. The date that's not on the screen that I do want you to know is May 1st of your senior year, and by that point, you need to decide on where you're going to go to school. So with that, decide where you're going. Tell the school that you're coming, and then tell the other schools that you're not coming, because that's a respectful thing to do. You've been building relationships with these people for months or even years by that point. So don't ghost them, please. But instead, just let them know, and they'll be excited for you to make that decision as well. So with that, here is my contact information. I might not be your specific admission counselor for wherever you are in the country, but you're welcome to email me to find out who that might be, and I'd be happy to connect you to those people. Each of you has someone at Rhodes who is happy to help you with this process. We are counselors for a reason. If you need to tell us all your your stories and how you're feeling, you can do that, but you can also just ask questions about how college in general works. We're happy to help you with that process, whether you have a lot of experience with that realm or not. We're eager for that. So please send me an email if you have questions or other things or want to know who your counselor is. We are more than happy to assist you in that regard. But Jake, as we are at the very end of this, and I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen now, do you have any final tips or pieces of advice you would give seniors right now in particular as they are looking to apply schools this fall and then select schools in the spring?
The only thing that I would say is as much as possible, try not to turn it into an overly stressful thing. Depending on maybe how competitive your high school is, maybe your parents. I know for me, my parents kind of were a little bit overbearing in the college process. That all that can kind of add up and weigh on you as you're going through this. But it really is an awesome decision, right? You're getting to pick where you get to go and spend time with and meet new friends at for the next 4 years. So really do try and not see it as something that's kind of weighing on you, but more of a way that you're finding the right fit for yourself for the next 4 years.
Thanks, Jake. Listen to Jake. He's a smart guy. He's gone through Rhodes and done very well here. So I am excited for all of you. I don't know if you have any questions. If you do, shoot them in very quickly as we have just 2 minutes left until Anna moves us along to our next segment. But I appreciate what you guys have been paying attention to, and I hope that this was helpful for you all. I am very eager to see how you guys go about this process, and please, again, reach out if you have more questions. We're happy to help you up here at Rhodes. Anna, I'll hand it over to you again.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for everyone that joined us in the audience. Oh, looks like you have a Q&A question if you want to address that quickly.
Sure, I'll answer that. Speaking here, the question was, is it possible to complete undergrad in 2 to 3 years? We have some students who complete Rhodes in maybe 3.5 years. That's not terribly common. We are a 4-year institution. We really value the experiences that students are having all 4 years. So it is not necessarily one where you're trying to get out as quickly as possible. But thank you for that question.
All right, well, unless there are any more questions, when you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this was just one of many sessions being hosted, so be sure to check out the full schedule and sign up for additional sessions. In about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other sessions recordings online. Oh, never mind, just saying thank you. All right, well, thank you all. Have a great rest of your day. Bye now.